A meeting cut short. Trump expels Zelensky from the White House. The air was thick with tension. It was palpable, almost suffocating, as if the very walls of the White House were holding their breath. On February 28, 2025, the Oval Office became a stage for international drama. The world watched with bated breath as two leaders, each with their own agendas, faced off in what was supposed to be a routine diplomatic meeting. President Trump, in an unprecedented move, abruptly ended his meeting with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky. The suddenness of the decision left everyone in the room stunned. Zelensky was effectively expelled from the White House. His departure was swift, almost as if he had been forcibly removed. This sent shockwaves through the global community. The images were stark, capturing a moment that would be replayed on news channels around the world. Zelensky, visibly shaken, was ushered out of the White House. His expression was a mix of disbelief and frustration, a leader caught off guard by an unexpected turn of events. A planned joint press conference was canceled. The luncheon, also canceled. The abrupt end to the meeting left a void that was quickly filled with speculation and concern. It was a diplomatic slap in the face, the kind of incident that could unravel months, if not years, of careful diplomatic efforts. The incident immediately raised questions about the future of US-Ukraine relations. Analysts and experts began to weigh in, each offering their own take on the potential fallout. The stakes were incredibly high. This was not just a meeting between two leaders, it was a critical juncture in international relations. This was not just another diplomatic incident, it was a significant event that would be analyzed and debated for years to come. This was a defining moment in Trump's presidency, a moment that would be scrutinized by historians and political analysts alike. It revealed the depth of his pro-Russia stance, a stance that had been a point of contention throughout his time in office. It also highlighted his willingness to use strong-arm tactics on the world stage, a strategy that had both its supporters and detractors. The world watched in disbelief. The images and reports from the White House were almost surreal, a stark reminder of the unpredictable nature of international politics. The ramifications of this event were sure to be felt for years to come. It was a moment that would shape the geopolitical landscape in ways that were not yet fully understood. It was a day that would live in infamy, a day that would be remembered as a turning point in the complex and often tumultuous world of international diplomacy. The weight of the world. Setting the stage for a diplomatic earthquake. The meeting between Trump and Zelensky was supposed to be a show of solidarity. It was a highly anticipated event, with both leaders under immense pressure to present a united front. The world watched closely, eager to see if the US would reaffirm its commitment to Ukraine amidst the ongoing conflict. It was meant to demonstrate the unwavering US support for Ukraine. The symbolism of the two flags side by side was powerful, a visual representation of the alliance between the two nations. Yet beneath the surface, tensions simmered. The backdrop was the ongoing war with Russia. The conflict had ravaged parts of Ukraine, leaving destruction and despair in its wake. Ukrainian soldiers fought bravely, but the toll was heavy, and the need for international support was more critical than ever. Ukraine, since the Russian invasion, had relied heavily on US military and financial aid. This support was not just a lifeline but a symbol of hope for the Ukrainian people. The arrival of US military equipment was a reminder that they were not alone in their struggle. The relationship, however, had become increasingly strained. Despite the aid, there were growing concerns about the US administration's true intentions. Zelensky's worried expression spoke volumes about the uncertainty that loomed over the meeting. Trump, from the beginning of his presidency, had adopted a more Russia-friendly posture. His meetings with Russian officials and his comments on foreign policy often raised eyebrows and fueled speculation about his stance on the Ukraine conflict. He questioned the need for NATO. This skepticism towards the alliance that had been a cornerstone of Western security for decades added another layer of complexity to the situation. Allies were left wondering about the future of their collective defense. He even praised Putin's leadership. Such statements were controversial and often seen as undermining the efforts to hold Russia accountable for its actions in Ukraine. This praise for Putin only deepened the mistrust among US allies. This raised eyebrows across the globe. World leaders were taken aback by Trump's approach, which seemed to diverge sharply from traditional US foreign policy. The headlines reflected a world grappling with the implications of this new direction. His stance on Ukraine was particularly perplexing to many world leaders. Zelensky in particular found himself in a difficult position. trying to navigate the complexities of international diplomacy while ensuring the survival of his nation. Adding fuel to the fire, Trump had in the past referred to Zelensky as a dictator. Such remarks were not only inaccurate but also damaging to the diplomatic relationship. They cast a shadow over the meeting, making it even more challenging to achieve a positive outcome. This only added to the tension surrounding the meeting. The atmosphere was charged, with both leaders aware of the high stakes. Every word, every gesture would be scrutinized, and the pressure to deliver was immense. While he had attempted to soften his rhetoric in the days leading up to Zelensky's visit, the damage was done. The past comments and actions had left a mark, and rebuilding trust would not be easy. The world watched, hoping for a breakthrough but bracing for the worst. The air was thick with anticipation and uncertainty. Reporters and diplomats alike were on edge, waiting for any sign of how the meeting was progressing. The stakes were high, and the outcome was far from certain. The meeting was taking place amidst a flurry of diplomatic activity. The corridors of power were abuzz with discussions and negotiations, each move carefully calculated. The diplomatic machinery was in full swing, reflecting the gravity of the situation. French President Emmanuel Macron and UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer had both visited Washington earlier in the week. Their visits underscored the international dimension of the crisis and the concerted efforts to find a resolution. Their mission, to discuss the ongoing conflict in Ukraine. The discussions were intense, with maps and strategic plans laid out on the table. The goal was clear: to find a path to peace and stability in the region. The timing of Zelensky's visit, therefore, was critical. It was a pivotal moment, with the potential to shape the future of the conflict and the broader geopolitical landscape. Every detail of his visit was meticulously planned, reflecting its importance. It was against this backdrop of war, shifting alliances and political maneuvering that the Oval Office meeting took place. The room was filled with the weight of history and the hopes of millions. The outcome of this meeting could have far-reaching implications, not just for Ukraine and the US, but for the world. The art of the deal gone wrong. Trump's demands and Zelensky's alleged transgressions. The meeting, as reported by eyewitnesses, quickly devolved into a shouting match. What began as a diplomatic discussion soon turned into a battlefield of words, with both leaders raising their voices in frustration. Trump, flanked by Vice President Mike Pence, unleashed a torrent of accusations at Zelensky. His demeanor was aggressive and his words were sharp, leaving little room for negotiation. He accused Zelensky of being ungrateful for U.S. aid. The president's frustration was palpable, as he felt that the assistance provided by the U.S. was not being adequately appreciated or reciprocated. He demanded Ukraine cede territory to Russia as part of a peace deal. This demand was met with shock and disbelief, as it implied a significant compromise on Ukraine's sovereignty. He even went so far as to accuse Zelensky of gambling with World War III. The stakes were high, and Trump's rhetoric only served to escalate the tension in the room. At the heart of the disagreement was a proposed deal. This deal was supposed to be a cornerstone of their negotiations, but it quickly became a point of contention. The U.S. would provide continued aid to Ukraine. This aid was crucial for Ukraine's defense and stability, especially in the face of ongoing conflict. However, Ukraine would grant the U.S. access to its vast reserves of rare earth minerals. These minerals are not only valuable but also strategically important for various industries. These minerals are crucial for the production of electronics and military equipment. The U.S. saw this as a mutually beneficial arrangement, but the terms were contentious. The deal, however, fell apart. The reasons remain unclear. Some speculate it was due to the harsh demands, while others believe it was a matter of mistrust. Adding to the bizarre nature of the meeting, a Russian state media correspondent was escorted out of the Oval Office. This unexpected incident added another layer of complexity to the already tense situation. The correspondent was reportedly laughing during Trump's tirade against Zelensky. This act of apparent disrespect only fueled the chaos and confusion in the room. This only added to the sense of chaos and dysfunction. The meeting, which was supposed to be a step towards resolution, instead highlighted the deep divisions and misunderstandings between the parties. The meeting was a disaster by any measure. It failed to achieve any meaningful progress and left both sides more entrenched in their positions. It left observers wondering if a diplomatic solution to the Ukraine crisis was even possible with Trump at the helm. The unpredictability of his approach made it difficult to foresee a clear path forward. The meeting was a stark reminder of the unpredictable nature of Trump's foreign policy. His unconventional methods and volatile temperament often led to unexpected and sometimes counterproductive outcomes. Section 4. A House-divided American politicians react to the Oval Office showdown. The reaction from American politicians was swift and divided. Trump's supporters, not surprisingly, applauded his tough stance. Senator Lindsey Graham, a staunch Trump ally, even suggested that Zelensky should apologize or step down. Senator Rick Scott and Senator Bill Hagerty echoed these sentiments, praising Trump for standing up for American interests. The condemnation from Trump's critics was equally forceful. Senator Jack Reed, a Democrat, called Trump's behavior a failure of leadership. He argued that the incident had severely damaged America's standing in the world. Other Democrats, including Representative Brian Fitzpatrick, called for renewed negotiations with Zelensky. Former National Security Advisor John Bolton, a frequent Trump critic, called the president's actions a catastrophic mistake. The incident further deepened the partisan divide in Washington. It highlighted the challenges of crafting a coherent foreign policy in an increasingly polarized political climate. Section 5. Echoes across the globe, international response to the Zelensky expulsion. The international community watched the events unfold with a mixture of astonishment and concern. French President Emmanuel Macron and NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte were quick to express their solidarity with Zelensky. They emphasized Ukraine's right to sovereignty and territorial integrity. The message was clear: the world was watching, and Trump's actions would not go unanswered. Unsurprisingly, Russia seized on the incident as evidence of America's waning influence. Russian officials, including Dmitry Medvedev, praised Trump's treatment of Zelensky. They saw it as a sign that the U.S. was losing interest in supporting Ukraine. The Kremlin's propaganda machine went into overdrive, portraying the incident as a victory for Russia. The incident had far-reaching implications for global power dynamics. It raised questions about America's commitment to its allies and its role as a guarantor of global security. Section 6. A Leader's Medal. Zelensky's response and the search for international support. Zelensky, for his part, maintained a dignified silence in the immediate aftermath of the incident. However, he later took to Twitter to express his gratitude for the continued support of the Ukrainian people. He also reiterated Ukraine's commitment to peace. Behind the scenes, Zelensky sprang into action. He reached out to European leaders, seeking to shore up support for Ukraine. He knew that with U.S.-Ukraine relations in tatters, he needed to strengthen ties with other international partners. His message was clear: Ukraine would not be bullied by Russia, nor would it be abandoned by the world. The incident was a test of Zelensky's leadership. It forced him to navigate a treacherous geopolitical landscape. The world watched closely as he charted a course for his nation's future.